Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Social Theory. And I am your host, Thomas E. Hanna, the founder of BlogPhoto.tv, and I'm super excited about today's show. We are going to get to sit down and talk to the brazen branding. I don't know, I can come up with a whole bunch of other B words. We'll just say she's an awesome branding person that we're going to get to sit down and chat with. And I'll tell you about her in just a moment, but first I want to remind you that this is a live, interactive show, and there's two ways that you can jump in on the conversation with us here over the course of the next hour. The first, if you're viewing on Google+, simply leave a comment right here in the comment section. We'll be tracking those through Comment Tracker and bringing those into the discussion. If you are watching on the website or on Twitter or anywhere else, simply tweet your comments or questions to hashtag #STShow, and we will be bringing those in as well. So we really look forward to engaging with you in the second half of our show. We're really going to buckle down and try to answer some of your questions directly. But in the meantime, let me introduce you to the woman of the hour, the branding diva that I began to introduce to you at the very beginning, the founder of the Branded Solopreneur, Andrea
Thank you.
Beltrami. How you doing, Andrea?
What's up, Andrea? Andrea.
Like the San Andreas
Fault. Oh, don't think I didn't hear about that in '87.
Yeah, I bet you did. I can just picture everybody throwing that your way. Oh, you shook the town.
I was so buoyed. Oh my God.
Well, I'm glad that you were on the show. I know you and I have been picking on each other for a while now, and so now I get to actually pick on you live on the air, and I'm super.
I know. I'm a tiny bit scared, but not really.
Well, you should be. I think healthy fear is always good.
I know.
But tell us a little bit about who you are, what the Branded Solopreneur is, and how you came to where you are now, because I know that this has been a bit of a journey on your part.
Absolutely. That's kind of an understatement. I've been all over the friggin' place. I come from, my main background is in the snooze fest that is the biotech industry in corporate America. And I worked in that industry for 15 years as a buyer. So for, God, probably 8 years, I really lived a double life. I had a day job where I did manufacturing, planning, and purchasing, and then on the side I explored every facet of design. I went to school for interior design, which is how I got into corporate America as a summer job that lasted 15 years.
Yeah. Long summer. You live
it was. And I was supposed to start part-time, and I never worked a part-time day in my life. So I really battled back and forth. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like, honestly, no joke, my favorite toy as a kid was the cash register. Like, I forced everybody to do purchases with me. Like, it was crazy, which is also probably why I was a great buyer. But it wasn't until I really discovered web design and graphic design, which was a fluke. I was building websites and programs for my corporate job for different internal websites on the purchasing end and a contracts end. So I sort of discovered the coding, and then I just discovered the design aspect of it, and then I got into graphic design. And my mom is actually, well, she's retired, but she was an event planner and a wedding planner for 30 years. So then I kind of jumped into graphic design with her, and I did all the menus and invitations and signage and that sort of thing, and I just really felt my way through everything. And it was really when I discovered the digital design that I knew I was on the right track. I went to school for interior design only to realize that I like it as a hobby. I don't want to work with clients for interior design whatsoever. I can't stand a floral, and if you make me do it, I'm just going to scream. So it wasn't for me. I went back to the drawing board, and really in the last 10 years I've taught myself everything I know. I mean, I'm really good at reverse engineering things, and I'm really good at studying on my own. I was never good in a classroom reading books and lectures and that sort of stuff. So I've just honed my craft over the last 10 years, and in the last 2 years with getting online and really focusing on creating my own brand, I got into branding. And I absolutely loved it. And for me, it segued from the graphic design, which is the part of digital design I really liked. I really don't enjoy web design that much. It's just a little too tech for me. So it's just been an evolution, and it's still evolving. I mean, I'm sure in a year or two I'll be further along and have a little bit of a different interest, but I have really settled into the visual side of things, and that's always been my thing anyway. That's why I always knew design and art and creativity were always huge parts of my life, and now I'm just all about creating my brand around that. I mean, it took a long time to figure out what I was good at, what I loved to do, and what I wanted to do long term, and now I feel like I'm finally finding my groove.
Well, and it's interesting. So much of this and this is, I mean, this is the case with most people. 10 years ago, the idea of social media as an industry in and of itself really wasn't on very many people's radar. So what a lot of times you see, the people that have really come into it and really grabbed hold of it and ran with it have found connection points with the areas of expertise that they had before, that they're able to transition into essentially a new medium. And for you, it sounds like so much of your design elements looked at how design plays out in a number of different avenues, because it started with interior design, right? So how do we lay out, how do we create a space?
Exactly.
And from that into really marketing design in many ways, where you're doing event planning type marketing, you're creating menus and things like that, which engage with purchases and things along those lines. So again, we're dealing with design there that reaffirms the feel of the space in which that design is going to apply, and then from there eventually into a digital sphere. Now, I'm curious, because a few weeks ago we had Dustin Stout on here. Dustin compared a website to a stage upon which your story is told. I'm wondering, knowing that you come from an interior design background, have you seen parallels between your approach to interior design and the way you think about that space and your approach to branding design and think about that sort of digital space?
Yeah, I mean, for me, all three of the different areas, the event planning, now I have an echo. Sorry. This is going to be like Wade Show when he heard someone talking the whole time in his ear. Delayed. No.
Well, let me see. That may be me. See if I can fix that.
That would be great, because otherwise I feel like I'm officially going crazy.
There, go ahead. It should be better now.
Okay. Yeah, so all three really go to the same place for me, which is, you know, you're really the nucleus of it, right? Whether you're talking about a wedding or an event, right? That's an extension of you and an extension of the meaning of what the celebration is. When it comes to an interior, that's an extension of who you are. I mean, that's our style. And those are all of the things that have always been part of me in every different artistic and creative medium. But why I have really honed the branding skill and why I really have a passion and an eye for it, because it's really just a way of translating your story, your voice, your style, your mission, your message. You know, it's just a different way of translating the same things that are in us. And that's why I focus on the solopreneur and sort of the more personal brands, because that's what I'm really good at, is taking those textual and personal things and turning them into visuals and branding and a whole brand identity.
Well, and there's a personality that I know that you tend to bring out in a lot of the work that I've seen you do. Those who don't know, the branding actually for this show that you're watching right now was done by Andrea, and or who I like to call Annie. She has plenty of terms for me as well.
I was going to say, stop it, Powder. Stop it.
You were coming up with a list, I know.
Oh, they're right here. I'm just waiting to lob them your way.
But she has come up actually with the design around actually the show itself. So in fact, so let's use that as sort of a a concept, because you talk about the way that this communicates a story. You talk about the way that branding communicates the space, communicates personality. I know that a lot of what you do is about how do you connect the essence of your business or the personality or the culture, and how do you translate that in a visual way that connects with that. So let's talk. So we have right here, you can see this right here in the corner. I'm trying to like circle it right here. This is the brand for Social Theory.
Mm-hmm.
And part of, and so when Andrea and I sat down, what I said is I want something that communicates the idea of a conversation, that emphasizes that my philosophy in social media is at the heart of social media really comes down to relationships, that it's not broadcasting at people, but it's this conversation with people that happens. And that was really kind of, would you agree, that was kind of the limits of what I had to say in terms
Yes, I will fully agree with that. And I've told other clients this, sometimes when you don't, it's almost more limiting when the client has less of an idea. Like, a lot of people think that would be like more creative freedom is better, but it's a little bit harder to do when someone just, you know, has this really fundamental idea, but really no preconceived notions of what style it should be or what it should look like. Or, I mean, I remember asking you, you know, do you want it icon based? Do you want it textual based? Like, what do you want? I remember pushing you so hard, and that's part of the challenge when people go to create visuals and to brand their business. It's really hard to wrap that around a visual, especially just one iconic symbol, right? Which is a lot of times what our logo ends up being. So my trick,
so talk to me about this. I mean, talk to the audience and stuff. When you came up with this here, this sort of these chat boxes that are kind of interconnected, this was bigger in the discussion we had. This was much bigger than simply an icon or a logo or a simple just, you know, kind of, it may look simple, but there was a lot that went into this. So talk to me about some of the elements and some of the way that you approached thinking about branding when you began to put this together.
Okay, so, and this is exactly what I did with you. You gave me a couple key things, which were the conversation, the connection, the relationships, and then you gave me the word social theory. Honestly, where I start every single time, because I come from such a visual place, is what conveys those 4 or 5 words that you just gave me. What symbols, what icons, what visual elements. And so I had a lot of different logo concepts for you. So there were some things where I had a thumbprint. You know, it's social, it's human. I had the chat bubbles. I had the magnifying glass. I had a globe in one of them. It's what are the things that when we look at are those international signs, like they convey the messages that you're looking for. And that's where I start every time, because half of the place that I start with my branding clients is having them define those sort of things. You know, what are the concepts? What are the feelings you want to evoke? What is the meaning behind your brand? Then I come up with pictorial imagery that I think conveys those things, and I start distilling and working, and I start doing the graphic design magic of, you know, honestly, like you said, those 2 boxes look so simple. I probably worked on trying to put those together in a way for an hour and a half. I'm just moving them around my screen to figure out, you know, because then you've got balance and contrast and that sort of thing. But that's where I start. I start with taking the words and turning them into symbols and icons. That's honestly exactly where I start.
And what we did here, and this is what I liked about what you came up with, is that it created this sort of circle, this sort of consistent image here that feeds back into itself. So we have this concept of a conversation, but it isn't linear. It comes over and it feeds back in, so this becomes a dialogue rather than the broadcasting, which really is what we tied in about. You brought the O in as a magnifying glass, which brought in the sort of examination concept of the show, and you really wove those together, which is important because, and you talk about this, you actually have a branding book where you've talked about this. The logo captures the concepts and the ideas of it, but the brand is bigger than the logo, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's sort of like,
is the brand?
Like, Well, like Dustin says, he really comes from a storytelling place and a stage. It's that same thing. I use different analogies. That's the book cover. It's the invitation. It's sort of, the visual thing that captures you. I always say that branding, online success, social media, it all boils down to a pause. What you want to do is get someone to pause long enough to take notice. How branding helps you do that is by creating familiarity and consistency. So every time they see your certain colors, even if the logo's not there, we've trained the brain that social theory is this black, white, and green concept or color palette. We've trained them that you could take social and theory, the words out, and you can have a chat bubble, and with that green and white, and guess what? It's social theory. It's all about the consistency and familiarity. It's creating that visual calling card, that pattern that is your signature style. And I know that a lot of people feel like that's really difficult in this day and age when everything's been done. But it's the formula, it's the combination of having everything. It's the combination of the voice, the visuals, the style, the message. It's all of that. And every time you take 4 out of the 5 out, someone's still going to realize that that's you. Someone's still going to recognize you. And that's branding.
Mm-hmm. So I hear there's a couple of things that I've heard in here. I've heard, first of all, that this comes from a place of story, the story of your business or product or what you're doing. There's a story in here that what you do in terms of a visual concept with in terms of icons and logos and your branding mark, because the brand is the business, it is the story. The branding mark becomes a visual representation into which all of that culture, all of that personality, all of that story is fed, so that this sort of brings that back out. The more that consistency and familiarity is
right. I mean, online, nobody's going to get to your story or text if they don't get there through visuals. I mean, yes, there's organic and SEO and all that, don't get me wrong, but on social and online, you have to have something that grabs the attention and that evokes an emotion that that somebody wants more exploration, that they want to learn more. Then they start learning parts of your story. So, your visuals have to convey that personality and those feelings you want to evoke, so that the person kind of automatically feels that stuff, and then you take them down the path. You know what I mean? It's just like I always call it courting. The visuals sort of lead to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And ultimately, that is your story, your expertise, your brand. It is the whole package, but it has to start somewhere. And you talk about it in your emails. It's 90% of the information that our brain processes is visual. We've got to hit them with the visuals and really evoke some emotions and convey some things in visuals before the text is even going to matter to them.
Yeah, and in fact, I wanted to bring this down. I'm curious as to your take on this, because we have two sort of entry points when we deal with branding. We have those that have had no interaction with our brand, right? And so some of what we want to do, we want that to be iconic enough that we're memorable and it gets their attention, so that it creates that pause that leads to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, like you were just saying. But now, I'm wondering, though, if down the line, do you think that the brand that we've built with people, until we're at a point anymore, like Coca-Cola, right? You see Coca-Cola, and this isn't, I'm just being introduced to their brand and they're creating pause. This is, you see that, and what they're doing is they're trying to tap you back into all of this stuff that they've attached to that logo over time.
Right.
Right. So, do you think the way, and particularly in terms of thinking about branding over a long period of time, is there a different approach to the brand concept among people that are just being introduced to it versus people that have been introduced to it for a long time? And how can you sort of use that as a hub to bridge those two approaches? Does that question make sense?
A little bit. I was a little yammery. Um,
I do that.
I know you do. That's why I like to tease you about it. Here's the thing: is when we're talking about Coca-Cola or any brand that's really established themselves with a certain audience, it comes back to trust and it comes back to that familiarity. It's not to say that those brands haven't tweaked and changed and rebranded and that sort of thing, but there has been a trust and associated with that. And that's what a brand can do for you once you become instantly recognizable. When you see something with the Coca-Cola logo on, you're more you're more likely to explore it because there's already been trust put in that brand. Where if you saw some new Coke brand or soda brand, there's skepticism and there's not that familiarity, and that familiarity leads to trust and credibility and authority and all those things. And they're hot button words that annoy a lot of us, me included, but they're true. But it's true. It's that thing inside of us that it's like, again, okay, I'll explore that because I know Coke's not going to do anything unethical to me. I know they're not going to promote anything unethical or that sort of thing. That's where we want to get with our brand. We want the new ventures that we take, the new segues that we explore. We want to be able to attach those to something that someone else has already built trust with and comfort with.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's great, and I think you raise a good point in that our brands do evolve over time, and we sometimes tweak the imagery, and sometimes we come to a point where we realize, if you had designed something in the 80s and it's all like bubbles and they had all those curves to everything that I look at now and I'm like, that's ridiculous. It looks like those kid stickers, like those puffy stickers.
Right.
You get to a point where people are like, we have to rebrand, and so
Right.
they recreate a brand. So there is this development, this evolution.
And people are okay with that.
There needs to be sort of consistency. So
right.
how do you balance the process of evolution in developing the brand of your organization with the consistency needed to build the brand of your organization?
Well, you can't recreate the wheel, but you can certainly tweak things. I mean, if we're let's just use brands that everybody's heard of. Like, look at KFC. Okay, that actually used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken, but what happened? Everything came down to initials and shortening and texting and these short words. They changed their entire image, but they didn't lose the trust of people. I mean, most of us don't want to eat them, but you know what I mean? They didn't lose that market. People didn't go oh, who is KFC? They still had the association. And look how many times Coke and Pepsi have changed their logos. I mean, there's graphics out there, there's infographics out there that show how they've changed them, and sometimes it only lasted for a year because it didn't really go in line with the brand. So you can change, colors and logo, but you can't change the message. You can change, a little bit of the message and keep the logo. You've got to keep things that still remind people of that trust that's been built. You just can't recreate the wheel. But here's the thing. People expect and are okay with the evolution. We're always growing and expanding, and as we get more successful, we have more money to invest in business and our videos and our logos and our branding and that sort of stuff. And nobody is going to resent that. Everybody is on board with an evolution and a growing. I mean, look at any of the successful solopreneurs and, kind of one-man shows out there. Look at Marie Forleo, which I know you just kind of discovered her last couple months. If you go look back at her videos, I mean, it's the shaky mobile camera, and now she, her videos are TV worthy. She's on friggin' Oprah, but she didn't start there. It's just an evolution. So change a little bit, but you don't change the foundation.
Yeah, and I think that's. I guess I think of it if we draw a comparison in terms of relationships again. When I connect with people that I knew in high school that I may not have seen in 10 years, they look totally different at the high school reunion, right? Totally different. But there's still a sort of a consistency with you knew who they were, and even though there's a change, there's a significant change there. you still harken back to some of that history. And so I suppose that sort of evolution also kind of applies to branding. But and we're going to come back to that in just a second. We've got some great questions that are loading up now, but it is now 5:31 in Florida time. That
I've been waiting.
The halfway point in our show. And do you know what that means?
It means TMI time. It means.
Yes. You still there? I think I scared her away. She says, I know this time. This is the would you rather time. I am fleeing the place. Are you still there with us, Andrea? I think we may have lost her. I'm gonna take it off of that black screen. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. When she comes back, I will, because it looks like she's still connected in, but she just must have disconnected the camera or gotten booted or something. So we will come back to her, and I'll grill her on the would you rather, the this or that clip as soon as she returns. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dive over, and we're going to readdress some of these questions. I think is she here? Yeah, has she returned? That's so cool. I now have on my screen. I now have two Andrea Beltrami. I have one that is a black screen, and one that is you. All right, I figured that we scared you off because you knew it was coming.
I know. I got super pumped, and then it was like. And I could still see it the whole time. It's trying to rip me off. I've been waiting for this moment. I want my 4 questions. I want to get some like TMI in here. Let's go.
Yeah. Then this is going to be an interesting episode. Well, this means it is time for this or that. Theoretically. Now it's time for this or that. Oh, you gotta love when things are off by just a little bit, because that's what makes it all exciting. But this is the time in our show where we get to know our social media leaders just a little bit better. By asking them a series of 4 would you rather questions. These questions are drawn from my would you rather deck of cards, and they address 4 different categories. The first is fear or discomfort, the second is appearance or embarrassment, the third is ethics or intellect, and the fourth is random. And when I ask you these questions, Andrea Beltrami, you have to choose this or that, and then tell us why you made that choice. Are you ready?
Hell yeah.
All right. Question number 1. Would you rather fall from 30 feet into a briar patch or climb up a 30-foot wall covered with thorny stems?
Oh. I'd rather fall. Maybe I went unconscious, and then I wouldn't really know.
You'd probably go unconscious after you fell through the briar patch. You'd be like, ow, 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 ow. Then
if I'm unconscious, it doesn't hurt. It's fine. And then they'll give me some like IV goodness, and then we'll get some goodies. It'll be fine.
All right. So you'd rather fall into a cushioned briar patch.
Yeah, let's go.
Question number 2. Would you rather have a lot of permanent crust around your eyes or have permanent white drool crust around your mouth?
Oh, I always get eye boogers, and they're the worst, but who likes drool? I'm going with eye boogers.
You're going with the eye boogers. Yeah. Why eye boogers?
Because drool's gross. I have like germ phobias, and I don't want to be anywhere near even my drool, let alone anyone else's. So I'd rather have some crusty. I could just throw a pair of sunglasses on. Nobody sees the crust.
Nice. I have a drooling cat. My
Wow.
cat will fall asleep on you, and when he's totally relaxed, it's like you turn on a faucet and he just sort of
That's disgusting. He needs a
yeah,
bib.
super
Get him a
exciting.
bib. I'm gonna buy him a bib. I'm gonna buy him a social theory
little,
bib.
little cat bib. All right,
Yeah.
there we go. Oh, we could get you a bib that if you decided to go with the request.
No, I'm going with eye boogers.
Okay, eye boogers. Question number 3. Would you rather? Oh, if your leg were completely encased, would you rather have to free it from a hardened block of solid glass or from a block of rubber?
How are you supposed to do either one?
I don't know. Your leg is either completely encased in solid glass and you have to free it from that, or completely encased in a block of rubber and you have to free it from that.
Okay, rubber, because even if I can't unencase it, can't be that heavy. So I'll just walk around with a stump of rubber on. It's fine.
And I'm sure it would help protect you when you fall into a briar patch.
Exactly. Or when I drink too much, I'll just kind of like fall over and bounce right back up.
Yeah, you could be like, look, I really do have a hollow leg.
Hey, my aunt's some crusty eye boogers. Like, I'm just getting sexier as the show goes on.
Yes, there we go. This is great. All right, now to top it all up, would you rather live in a house made from Legos or live in a house made from mud and palm fronds?
Maybe mud and palm fronds, because then that would like kind of insinuate that I'm somewhere tropical, right? I mean,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I'd rather live like on the beach in the tropics than in some creepy kid land.
Or a swamp.
No, we're gonna go with tropics. I don't want mud. I want sand, thank you, and palm fronds. I'm choosing with my tropical girly beverage. Thank you.
Okay. See, I was picturing you like setting up a place right next to Shrek.
Yeah,
No?
I would sink with the rubber leg. Okay, so that wouldn't really work.
Okay, so we have the eye-crusted, briar-scratched, rubber-legged Andrea Beltrami living
Island
in mud and
girl.
palm fronds, and I think with that image, we have gotten to know you just a little bit better, and this has been this or that.
You need to say that in a
We-
cornier game show voice next time. Just saying. Like, you need to really embrace that.
Yeah, I need to embrace it.
Yeah, go corny game show host on us. Come on.
And now it's time to ask the this or that question.
Yes, that's what I want.
All right. We'll see what we can do about that. But this is the point now we're going to go ahead and jump on over to the questions that are coming in from our audience. And we have some fantastic ones. First of all, we have people that are offering the chant that are really getting behind your nicknames. Nikki Pesker over here is chanting that she wants Woody Harrelson.
Woody.
Yeah, for those of you who do not know, say that again.
I said just let powder marinate for a little bit, Nikki. Like, it really will set in, and it will be a goodness
I'm all
too.
powerful now with like powder was. For those that don't know, Wade Harmon began this, where he seems to think I look like Woody Harrelson, and he's brought a whole bunch of people on board with that idea now. So I have to fend this off, and
Oh,
and
here's
Nikki
my
is
little
all over
violin.
jumping on that bandwagon. Thanks, I appreciate it. And you know, since you're so sweet to me, I'm going to bring up Eileen's comment about you that I thought that was delightfully sweet, where she says, you have such a beautiful heart, beautiful smile. You can tell she has a warm heart.
Oh, thanks, Eileen.
That was very sweet. And I had to bring that up right after you did your little violin for me so that we know,
That's okay. She still likes me. Eileen said so. I'm sweet. Eileen said so. That's what I say now, Eileen.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. Nikki, though, brings up a really great question when she comes back. One of the questions she brought up. She wants to know, at what point do you think a brand begins to generate trust? Where is that tipping point? What do you think about that?
I think it's as soon as you make a connection, and that may be, I mean, I have people that I connect with on the first email or two, and I have other ones that will marinate on my work for 5 or 6 weeks before they. It's really based on the connection. So it goes back to, what this show is all about. It's about building that connection and conversation. So the more you can start a dialogue with someone, the quicker they're going to build trust and credibility with you. So your brand really, past all the visual stuff, needs to be connecting with people, and that's how they build trust, is they talk to you. They realize that they resonate with you for whatever reason that is.
So let me ask a follow-up question, because there's also some elements where people have earned a certain level of trust by the way that they've carried themselves, as opposed to like, for example, I think of people like Jay Bear is one that I always doled up. I think the guy has really has really carried himself with integrity, and I consider a lot of what he teaches to be dead on, and the interactions that he has to be full of integrity and expertise. But I've never actually had a conversation with him. Now I know people that have, but he was able to earn some trust with me as a result of some of the things he did, as opposed to necessarily having a direct connection. So how do you think generating trust in a brand works in those areas where someone may be a third party looking on, or you don't have that same sort of ability to interact like you do with others?
Well, I'm going to say that I would venture to guess that your connection to Jay also came because you saw his connections in collaborations with other people that you already trusted. Because I have no issue with Jay Bear whatsoever, but to be honest, I've watched some of his stuff, but I don't have a huge trust with him. I don't think he's the end-all be-all kind of person, because he hasn't resonated with me, and I haven't really engaged with him. Whereas there's other people, like almost anyone that Marie Forleo has on, because I just absolutely adore everything she does and believe so highly in her, that there's people that, like I said, half an hour into her discussion, I now trust them, but I've never talked to them. So I think some of it also comes by the, trust by proxy kind of thing. And some of it also comes from personality. I think when you see a similar personality, or you hear them using similar language that you use, those are all things that resonate. It's like, oh, okay, I can relate to them. I feel like I know them because they just shared this story, and that happened to me last week, type thing.
So I heard a couple of things in there, and I think these are dead on. I heard relatability, right? The way that they communicate, the type of stuff that they bring out, the things that they target are things that you're able to relate with. You're able to relate with them on a personal level, and you're able to trust the type of content they have because it is stuff that demonstrates its own value. I heard that. I also heard this word of mouth concept, that if I don't necessarily know somebody, but people that I trust know this person and tend to vouch for them, which you're absolutely correct, by the way. Wade Harmon has a great relationship with Jay Bear, and I have a great relationship with Wade Harmon. So there is a carryover as a result of that. But there's that way that there's that that trust level that is given by people that you already trust there, right, that I also heard in there. So that's three things I think that you mentioned in there that are really critical.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we as brands have to be careful with who we collaborate and work with, because their reputations will rub off on us, just as well as, teaming up with someone who's got a great following and is highly, has a high level of integrity and respect out there, can rub off on us, and sometimes unjustly so. Sometimes people collaborate and get credit that they don't deserve because they latched onto somebody that was really cool. But I mean, those are the type of things that you have to really take serious as a brand, because it is going to get a little bit less of a clear line sometimes, especially the more you collaborate with someone.
Yeah, and I think a great example of that, and I know she's out in the audience, so I'm going to bring her up. Eileen Smith does this incredibly well, where she takes time to invest in people. And because she invests in people, she has people that vouch for her. And so if there's a third-party person that Eileen may not have connected with, people that have connected with Eileen talk her up and talk about how great she is to them, and those people wind up hearing about her and trusting her because that trust level has sort of been handed down, like, from generation to generation, so to speak.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. She's carried it this long because it's truthful. You know what I mean? You can get maybe 2 steps away with it, but somebody's gonna figure out that you're not. It's somebody like Eileen that can pull that off. Andy, I feel the same way about Andy Lyons. She has introed me to so many people, and there's something about, like, when Andy Lyons says you need to talk to this person, that I need to talk to them. Like, and it's because I fiercely trust her and respect her and know that she would never pass me on to trash.
Mm-hmm. Lee Rickler actually brings up a really great point here, and I love what he has to say about this. He says that over the years, talking about how brands have developed, he says over the years brands have gone from being a simple logo type element to the full spectrum of color, style, and quality, etc., to a full-on lifestyle. And this, I think this is so dead on, because now we have to have the logos, we have palettes that we connect in with the overall visual appeal of our site and the images we use and everything else, so that it aligns with that. But not only that, the way that we operate, the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we interact with other people winds up becoming part of that brand image.
Oh, and we know I'm a great case for that. Like, I'm not the end-all be-all in branding. There's lots of other people in branding. But guess what? The people that resonate with me, like the sass, the sarcasm, the attitude, the drinking humor, that sort of stuff. I mean, that is honestly, I credit that a lot with the progress I've been able to make with this brand since only launching in October. I mean, a lot of people think that I've been around for longer, but I think that I've just stuck out because I bring a different edge to it. I mean, and there's, like I said, there's plenty other branding bloggers and branding people that you can follow, but we're going to resonate with the personality. This day and age, it's about the personality. Like, nobody wants to reach out to a brand anymore, right? They want to reach out to a person. That's why nobody worth anything has their brand for their profile pic on Google Plus or any social media. You need to put your face on there. You need to have a personality. You need to have a stance. And I think that part of branding is really hard for people, because there's a huge element that you're going to detract other folks. Like, here's the other thing about branding that I always come to the table with, is it's a qualifier. And because it's your voice and your style and everything, it's a qualifier. Somebody who doesn't resonate with that color, oh, that's too loud of a color palette, and that person's too loud, and then they're not going to do business with you. And that's okay. It's a qualifier. You want that. And that's a good part of branding that's really consumed today. But it's tough for a lot of people, because who doesn't want to, I can help every small business. No, you can't. You need to decide what kind of small business owner is it. My thing's always straight shooting. So if you don't like straight shooting, if you don't want somebody to tell you the way it is, and you need someone to sugarcoat it and stroke your ego, I'm not your girl. And
right, that's a filter
on
who you do business with. The personality that you present, the way that you connect with people, also carries the filter. It filters out the people you don't want to do business with, but it attracts your ideal clientele, which is critical. And in fact, speaking of straight shooting, Andrea, you have a straight shooting thing going on right now, don't you?
I do. I am trying to reach out and help folks that just need someone's eyeballs on their branding, and they really need someone to help them find the right path. And a lot of times it's just, I mean, how many times do we want to just email someone and go, like, what do you think about this logo? Like, what do you think about this? What should I do with that? So I have put together, and it's something I've been doing for my clients behind the scenes for a couple years now, and I call it a branding mentorship. And it's a couple of hours of one-on-one time with me where I really dive into your brand. And that's your website, all your defined branding stuff, you as an individual. And I help you put together the crystal clear path, give you an exact list of the things that you need to do from the visual standpoint, from the social standpoint, from your website and blog. And it's one-on-one customized time with me. It's access to my email box and me for weeks at a time. And it's really someone It's a sanity check. It's someone to help you light that fire under you. And like I said, it's straight shooting. It's all in the name of love. I'm going to help you figure out exactly what you need to do in your business. And not this generalized crap that, you know, is all on the blog post and everything. It's really, you know, what you're about. Who's your target market? Who are we trying to reach? What are you trying to accomplish? And I'm going to dive into it with you, and we're going to get it done.
Yeah, and you actually have broken this in two segments, if I understand correctly. You have, in starting off, you have sort of a kickoff where you have an hour up front where you sit down, kind of put everything together, go over their branding, give an in-depth look at everything, and establish this whole idea on what they need to do, and then they do it, and then you come back a few weeks or a month or so later or something like that, and you sit down for another hour with them and say, here's what you've been doing well, here's where we need to tweak some things, and so you have that follow-up to maintain that sort of momentum.
That's exactly.
Am I understanding that correctly?
So exactly. It's like after they purchase the service, they give me, you know, all the URLs or domains, because I have a couple customers that are trying to integrate, you know, 2 to 3 brands together, and that's what they're having a problem with. I dive into all that on my own. I dive into your entire website, looking at every page, reading up on you, figuring out what it is, and I put together a list of all the things that I think need to be done. Then we jump on a call. I get to know you better. I really push you on some questions. I dive in to things with you on there, so you can, you know, explain things if there was, you know, stuff going on behind the scenes that hasn't happened on the website and that sort of stuff. And we come up with an exact list of homework that you need to go do. And then that's what I said. You get, you know, access to my email, that you can email me anytime. And then when you're ready for us to get back on a call and go through everything you've done, then we jump on another call. And we make sure that everything's finalized. We cover any more feedback I have for you and any questions that have arisen. And it's been really helping folks. I've got 10 slots that I was offering for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and I've got 6 of those filled. So I've got 4 more slots. If this has got to E as hooked and you're looking for some straight shooting branding, you know, mentorship, it's me at your disposal for this time, all about your brand. So
you launched this a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Did you open this up? I mean, because you've always had this for your clients, but
yeah,
you opened this up like a week or two ago for your general.
Yeah, I launched it 2 weeks ago, but I gave my community a week, because it's, like I said, my community is everything. I call them the Solopreneur Society. And so I gave them a week to jump on in and ask me questions and that sort of stuff, and I got 5 slots out of that, and then I opened it up to social media late last week, and I filled 1 more slot. So I've got 4 slots open right now, and then, you know, once I get that all done, then I'll open another 10 slots. But that's what I can take on right now, and I wanted to put a feeler out there and see, you know, this is as beneficial for me as it is them, if I'm being fully transparent, because it's helping me figure out what folks are really struggling with. I mean, a lot of the ones jumping on the service are, you know, they dove in a do-it-yourself kind of way, and then they got stuck. It's overwhelming. So that's really helping me to figure out.
But the big thing that I want people to recognize on this is you started off 2 weeks ago with 10 possible slots, and you've already have over half of those that have filled up. So if people want to get connected to this while it's still available, they want to go and start, at least get some information about it now. Yeah. Where can they find that at?
Yeah, go to the brandedsolopreneur.com /branding-mentorship, and I'll put that link in the comments after we're done here.
Yeah, go ahead and put that in the comments.
Yeah, so there's a little 4-minute. Yeah, there's a 4-minute video on the page where I go through a lot of what we just talked about now, where I break down the process and what it's all about, and a checkout button. It's really simple, and then, you know, as soon as you process the checkout, it'll send me an email, and I'll be in touch with you to get all the information to dive into your brand, and we'll get the first session between us on the calendar.
And if people want to connect up with you, I know you're here on Google Plus as Andrea Beltrami.
Yep.
And then your website is thebrandedsolopreneur.com, right?
Yes. And I am telling people to go to thebrandedsolopreneur.com/badass, of course, and join the society, because I
Yeah.
do. I spoil the hell out of my community. I give them first dibs on everything. I give them insane discounted pricing, and like, it's my hub. The list is everything, and my community and helping people out, and it's all about them. So get on the community.
It is really a great list. So I want to connect in with you over there. I want to make sure, and you're putting out some incredible content on there, particularly even for those who are your do-it-yourselfers who may not necessarily even want to plug into the mentorship thing. Connecting up with Andrea's site is a great, just fantastic resource for on-the-ground tips on how you can develop your palette, develop your site to really make it do some incredible things. Well, I'm super glad that you were able to join us today. I know we ran into some little technical things right at the beginning, but this was a great hour of good conversation. So I appreciate you being on here, Andrea.
Absolutely.
My name is Thomas C. Hanna. You can find me over at BlogPhoto.tv. Connect with my insiders group there, or just connect in with the articles. And stay tuned. I'm going to be announcing a relaunch of a previous course that I once had for blogging that actually Andrea went through as a beta tester a while back, but I'm going to be opening that back up in the next few weeks. Yeah. So stay tuned. I'll be letting you guys know more about that as it gets a little bit closer. Thank you again for joining us here on Social Theory, and I'm going to go ahead and linger here in the comments for a little while, and I look forward to continuing to connect up with all of you folks again next week. Thanks.
Later.